All right, so you guys wanted to hear from people who really, built their own path. Well, get ready for this deep dive. It's Larry Silverstein.
Larry Silverstein.
Yeah, the guy who owns the World Trade Center.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He's 93, and I got to tell you, this is not your average billionaire interview.
I bet.
This guy, he's he's all about work is my life. Started in real estate way back in the 50s.
Wow. The 50s. So, built everything up over decades.
Brick by brick. Total contrast to that whole get-rich-quick thing everyone's obsessed with now.
Yeah, for sure. Nobody wants to put in the time anymore. Everyone wants it like that.
Right. But here's the thing that really blew my mind. He says he thrives on stress.
Thrives on stress. Isn't that, the opposite of what we're supposed to do?
I know, right? Most people are all about, stress management and all that.
Yeah, avoiding it at all costs.
Exactly. So how does this guy at 93 not just handle stress, but actually use it?
Well, I think there's, good stress and bad stress.
Okay, yeah.
It's chronic stress, the kind that just grinds you down. That's obviously bad. But then there's the stress of, say, pushing yourself to hit a deadline or train for a marathon.
So, a challenge.
Right. It's stressful, but it can actually be good for you.
Makes you stronger.
Yeah, builds resilience. And I think that's what Larry's talking about. He sees those challenges as, fuel, opportunities for growth.
And he's certainly faced his share of challenges, especially with 9/11. I mean, just weeks after he got the lease on the World Trade Center.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I can't even imagine.
That's how do you even process something like that?
And rebuild from it, literally.
Exactly. And it wasn't just about the money, though. Obviously, that was a huge factor. He talks about the human cost, really feeling the weight of that tragedy.
Yeah, that's got to be heavy.
Totally. But instead of, giving up or whatever, he became laser focused on rebuilding. Not just the buildings, but the spirit of the city.
Right. Making a statement.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
And there's this crazy story about his wife. Apparently, she saved his life on 9/11.
What? How?
He always had breakfast at Windows on the World. The restaurant at the top of the North Tower.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
But that morning, his wife insisted he go to a dermatologist appointment instead.
Wow. Talk about fate. Right.
Seriously. It makes you think about how much our relationships can affect us. Sometimes even, literally saving our lives.
And he talks a lot about how important it is to choose the right partner, right?
Calls it the most important decision in life. They've been married for, 68 years.
Wow. 68 years. They must be a real team.
He describes her as, not just his wife, but his best friend, his confidant, someone who really gets him.
That's so important, Having someone who supports your ambitions, challenges you to be better.
He says she always pushed him to take risks, even when they seemed kind of crazy.
Believed in his vision.
Totally. And speaking of risks, his view on love is kind of surprising. You'd think after almost 70 years of marriage, he'd be, super romantic.
Yeah, all hearts and flowers.
But he's actually pretty practical about it. Describes love as, a mix of feelings, actions, and unwavering support.
So it's not just about, the initial spark.
He even said, and I quote, "Love is not an easy thing. It takes work. It takes compromise. And it takes a willingness to put your partner's needs before your own."
Wow.
Right? It's not the kind of love you see in the movies, all perfect and easy.
It's real. It's about showing up, even when it's tough.
Exactly. Love is a verb.
I like that. Love is a verb.
So now this guy, he's built this massive real estate empire, right? You'd think he'd define success as, all about the money in the buildings.
Yeah, the classic billionaire definition.
But get this. He actually dismisses all that material stuff as meaningless.
Meaningless, really.
Says his greatest source of pride and fulfillment is his family.
Wow. That's pretty profound coming from someone who, has achieved so much in the material world.
I know, right? It makes you think about what really matters in the end.
Absolutely.
And here's the thing that really got me. He says he regrets not doing more to make the world a better place.
He said that after everything he's done.
Yeah. His words were, "I've done a terrible job at making the world a better place."
That's humbling and kind of inspiring, too. It shows that even someone who's achieved so much can still be striving to make a difference.
And that maybe none of us are ever really done when it comes to that.
It's a constant journey.
Exactly.
It's he put his money where his mouth is. He didn't just talk about love and commitment. He lived it, both in his personal life and, his business dealings.
So you're saying his approach to love and business, they were kind of similar.
Totally. Think about it. He built his empire by taking risks, right? buying those, like, run-down buildings in not-so-great neighborhoods.
Yeah, the ones other developers wouldn't touch. He had that vision, though, saw the potential.
And he trusted his gut, just like he trusted his wife. It wasn't reckless, though.
He did his homework, right? Calculated risks.
Exactly. Didn't just jump into anything blindly. And, that whole World Trade Center deal, that was a massive risk even before 9/11.
Oh, for sure. Putting everything on the line.
And then after the attacks, I mean, can you imagine the pressure to just walk away? Cut his losses?
I bet a lot of people advised him to do just that. It would have been understandable,
Totally. But he didn't. He saw rebuilding as, like, an act of defiance.
Yeah, rebuilding not just the buildings, but the spirit of the city.
He talks about how the new World Trade Center represents, like, the indomitable spirit of New York. It's pretty powerful stuff.
So inspiring. And it makes you think about legacy, right? What we leave behind.
And what's interesting is that he doesn't equate legacy with, like, money or fame. He actually criticizes, like, chasing those meaningless things, as he calls them.
Wait, so he's a billionaire who built his fortune from scratch, and he's saying it's all meaningless.
He's saying that true fulfillment doesn't come from external validation, from stuff. Those things are fleeting,
Okay, so where does he find meaning then, if not in the things he's built?
He talks about family, about connection, about making a positive contribution to society. Those are the things that last.
It's not about what you have, but what you do with it, right?
Right. And it's kind of amazing that even someone like Larry Silverstein, who's achieved, like, the ultimate material success, still grapples with these questions of legacy and making a difference.
Like he's still searching for something more. Didn't he say he regretted not doing more to help the world?
Yeah. He said, and I quote, "I've done a terrible job at making the world a better place." Pretty wild to hear that from someone who, rebuilt the World Trade Center.
It's humbling. And it makes you think, what would Larry tell his younger self, knowing what he knows now?
He talks about focus, dedication, giving it your all. But above all, he emphasizes prioritizing family.
Finding that balance,
Yep.
right? Ambition and, like, the things that actually matter.
Right. And that's where things get really interesting because it forces us to ask ourselves, what are we truly dedicated to? Are we giving our all to the things that, like, align with our values? Are we making time for the people who matter most?
Big questions.
Big questions. And maybe that's the whole point of this deep dive. It's not just about learning from Larry's experience, but applying those insights to our own lives.
Making sure our ambitions don't overshadow the things that truly give our lives meaning.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
It's something to think about for sure.
Absolutely.
It's kind of wild to think about, We always put these billionaires on a pedestal, but Larry's story, it's like a reminder that they're just people.
Yeah, with the same doubts and fears and hopes as the rest of us.
Exactly. And, like, he's achieved all this success, but he's still worried about making a difference, leaving a positive mark. It's pretty inspiring.
It's like he's saying that success isn't this finish line you cross. It's more about the journey itself.
And the journey can be unpredictable, right? Like with 9/11. One minute you're having breakfast at the top of the world, the next.
Yeah, it's a powerful reminder of how fragile everything is.
Makes you appreciate the little things, the people in your life.
And the importance of, like, picking yourself up when things fall apart. Resilience,
Larry's story is definitely about resilience. Rebuilding not just the towers, but his own life. Finding a way forward after such a massive loss.
And it's not just about bouncing back. It's about using those experiences to grow.
Yeah, like he didn't let that tragedy define him. He kept pushing forward, kept striving to learn and make a difference.
Always evolving. I think that's something we can all learn from no matter where we are in life.
It's never too late to start making a change, right?
Never too late.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, what was your biggest takeaway from Larry's story? What really stuck with you?
That's a good question. I think for me, it's a reminder that success isn't about stuff, it's about impact. Like, what are we doing to make the world better, even just a little bit?
That's a great one. And it ties back to that question we asked earlier, right? What advice would we give our younger selves?
Knowing what we know now.
Exactly. It's about reflecting on those experiences, the good and the bad, and using them to shape our future.
Being intentional about our choices.
Totally. Well, on that note, we want to thank you, our amazing listeners, for joining us on this deep dive. We are so grateful for your support.
Couldn't do it without you guys. You're the reason we do what we do.
And remember, you can connect with us on TikTok and YouTube at Angie Podcast. Share your thoughts on today's episode and let us know what advice you would give your younger self.
We love hearing from you guys. And don't forget to support the show on our website at https://angieselfdevelopmentandmotivationpodcast.buzzsprout.com.
We are so excited to keep growing and learning together. Until next time, keep diving deep.